Irie FM wishes to advise that the views expressed on Sexwise are not necessarily those of the company.
Good night. It's Tuesday, July 24, 2014, and you're listening to IRFM. And of course, this is your late night show. It's called Sexwise. I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey. And we plan to have an exciting show lined up for you tonight. Last week, we had a good show with DJ Amber. We look at pornography, and we plan to keep you enthralled tonight as we look at matters having to do with people, matters having to do with relationships, and of course matters having to do with sex. I hope you had a good day, and it has been a very hot summer in Jamaica, and of course we've had a few bushfires, so we just would like to invite you to keep safe. We've also had some very unfortunate accidents on the main highway in Trelawney, and we've had a few deaths, and we just need to encourage you to be careful on the roads as you travel to and fro. We're glad to have you on board tonight as we have another show, and of course we know that for years you've kept your dial locked in IRFM on 107.1, 107.3, 107.5, 107.7 and 107.9 on FM band as we try to enlighten you and clarify issues having to do with people and sex. Of course, we are on Facebook at Sexwise IRFM. Our email is sexwise@irfm.net, and you can follow us on Twitter, Sexwise IRFM. Of course, we like to get some feedback also about what you think of the show and of any special topics you'd like us to discuss with you. And you can contact me at alvab@cjamaica.com. That's alvab@cjamaica.com. Or you can get in touch with me at 377-0122. That's 377-0122. Give me some feedback. And of course, I think you'd also like to know that come September, I will be available for consultation in Kingston, so you can get in touch with me at 377-0122, and I'll explain to you how you can get in touch with me. You must also remember that you must purchase a copy of my book, Sexplanation, a guide to discussing sex and sexuality in the Caribbean. It's available at all your favorite bookstores, and it's available at SM Romance in Ocho Rios. So please get a copy and give me some feedback as to its content. Tonight we are going to be discussing a particular challenging topic. We're going to be looking at jacket children and cheating, and we want you to keep it locked on IRFM as we try and clarify some of the pertinent issues having to do with this particular matter. And my co-host tonight is my good friend
Wade Brown.
Wade, it's been a while, isn't it?
It's been a long while. Definitely.
It's really great to have you with us tonight.
Good to be back.
And the kind of topic I sure you'd have a lot to say about.
Yes, definitely.
And
jacket children.
But when I heard that you were coming on board, I said to myself, I wonder if Wade would be in a good state of mind. I mean after all the World Cup thing. How did you cope with the stress?
There, aren't we? I wasn't stressed. Argentina, we made it to the final.
We made it.
We should have won, but
okay.
Yeah, we gave Germany a chance.
Okay. Well, at least you look as if you're fully recovered from the stress. Okay, it's good to have you, Wade. And we're going to be discussing a lot of interesting issues tonight. We are going to have with us around 9:20 Miss Madeleine Witter, chairman of the St. Anne and St. Mary Jamaica branch of the Jamaica Cancer Society.
Yeah.
And she will be talking to us about Reality for Life 2014, and so we're looking forward to that discussion. Around 10 o'clock, we'll be joined by Dr. Herbert Gale, anthropologist and lecturer in the Department of Sociology and Social Work, and chairman of Fathers Inc., who will help to clarify some of the issues we're going to be discussing tonight. But you know, Wade, when I was looking at this topic, I actually decided that I wanted to look at a whole raft of issues relevant to quote-unquote jacket children and cheating. And I thought I would introduce the show by just reminding our listeners about what really is happening on the ground. And I pulled some news clips which I'd like to share with the listeners. This one was published on October 14, 2007 in the Jamaican Observer. And the headline was, Why Women Give Men Jacket. Social Pressure, Financial Security Cited as Major Causes. And the news editor was Lovelet Brooks. And she argues that the revelation that some 33% of Jamaican men have been named father to children they have not sired has brought into sharp focus some moral and socioeconomic issues affecting women in Jamaica. Now, gender consultant Dr. Glenda Sims argues that the phenomenon is complex as well as human. She says that too many men in Jamaica still believe in the nuff gal syndrome. They have this need to go outside and conquer. It is not enough to have a woman at home. They must have their friend's wife. So a web of relationship is created, and paternity must be hidden if pregnancy occurs. Now, she also mentioned that there is a high prevalence of unplanned sex in Jamaica. And Dr. Donna Hope argues that women in Jamaica still see their children as their bank account and old age pension.
Some do.
And therefore, they will have 2 or 3 lovers, and when they become pregnant, the named father will be the one who's most financially stable. Women have been choosing who they want to father their children for a long time. Then she said something which I thought was particularly interesting, which I would love when we open the lines to get some feedback from a listener. But she also argues genetics also play a big part. Believe it or not, she says, some women still want bright skin, straight-haired children. So a Caucasian lover would make an ideal father. The family name is also perceived as taking a child very far. And now, of interest, she also says, more and more men are successfully challenging their paternity in divorce and child support cases, revealing a huge change in the relationship between men and women. Men who are being divorced increasingly call into question the paternity of children conceived during the marriage. Now, Dr. Leith Dunn, head of the Gender Studies Department at the University of the West Indies, argues that women have been forced into multiple partnership arrangements due to economic reasons, hence the unfortunately high rate of paternal exclusion in Jamaica. So, as you can see, we have a problem.
Yes.
You know, and I thought that I'd just remind the listeners that there is, in fact, an interesting definition of paternity fraud, affectionate to call jacket in Jamaica. And this, listeners, is when a woman a mother's name rather. A mother names a man to be the biological father of a child when she knows, adoptive word is she knows, or suspects that he is not the biological father. So that means she names a man as a father when she knows or suspects that the man is not the father. Now, I looked at some data with respect to paternity fraud around the world, and worldwide this is deemed to be around 0.8 to about 20%, with an average of 3.7%. When the data from other countries was looked at, I found where it was particularly interesting. I want the listeners now to stand by and listen to what is happening here. Because in Canada, it was 4%. In France, 2.8%. In the UK, 1.6%. In Mexico, 11.8%. In Switzerland, 0.8%. And in Jamaica, the CDA testing by Caribbean Genetics, CARGEN, showed that it was 33%. And the family court actually indicated that there was a 34.5% prevalence of paternity fraud in Jamaica. That is serious. That is serious. Of interest, of interest. I'm looking at a report here written by Donna Hussey White in All Woman, and she actually said that the head of CARGEN, based at the University of the West Indies, actually posited an argument which is quite interesting, that Jamaica is the jacket capital of the world. Now that is an amazing statement. The jacket capital of the world, because if we have a prevalence rate of 34, roughly 30 to 35%, plus or minus 1% here or there, that indicates that 1 in 3 children in Jamaica is deemed to be a jacket. Now that is a serious statement.
It is.
And it indicates that we definitely have a problem.
Definitely.
You're listening to Higher FM, and of course this is your late night show. It's called Sex Wise, and I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey, and my co-host is
Wade Brown.
And Wade, I had no idea until I started to research this particular topic that we had such a big problem. Did you suspect that?
I never would have guessed it would have been this high, but I mean, this is really, really serious. 33, 34%.
Yeah, and even if you take 3% off,
it's still a lot.
Take 5%.
It's still a lot.
It's
the
a
reasons
lot.
behind this, I mean, I would love to find out, because I think earlier I said one of the articles was saying the enough gas syndrome. I disagree with that, because if a guy wants more than one woman, the woman has the right to say no. So I can't agree with that point.
Yeah, well, I thought that statement was a little harsh too. That's from Dr. Glenda Sims. But, when one looks at the causes, and it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what the possible causes are. And I'm going to put forward some possible root causes when Dr. Herbert Gale comes online at 10 o'clock. This is an area that he has studied exhaustively. He could perhaps clarify some of my concern, because I've been trying to find some local data looking at root causes of paternity fraud, and I really couldn't come up with anything. And one of the concerns I have, is a lot of time when issues are raised in Jamaica, we have a lot of good data at the university, but it's not available. I mean, you find a lot of data online for almost all the other universities, but our data is locked away somewhere, and it interferes with the quality of the discourse, because we really want some hard facts, because we are kind of unique. If you are going to tell me that if the prevalence rate of paternity fraud in the UK is 1.6 and in ours is 35. We are unique, we're special. What makes a woman, do this?
Because, is it that I'd love to know the demographic, because is it that women are not protecting themselves and they get nervous and want the guy with the best hair, skin color, or money or something? Is it that? I don't know. It's crazy.
I know that Dr. Gale is actually listening, and I would like for him to really come and clarify some of these for us, because we can ask some questions And I want to look at the data. I don't want to resort to gut feeling. I want to find out what does the social have to say as to why we are at the levels that have been argued by the family court.
And maybe you could answer this for me. What determines fatherhood? Is it society or biology? Because if it's a society, I guess you could say that, hey, he's not the blood father, but I mean, you're with the child for 18 years, so
well, that's an interesting point, because the truth is that if a man in fact actually is given a child, and the man accepts the child, and in my opinion, the child is his child.
Yeah.
Now, for example, I look at that question and I saw peace in the piece written by Donna Hussey White, in which Margaret Macaulay actually addressed that particular issue, and we'll get back to that after we've had this short break. This is Sex-Wise. I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey, and my co-host is
Wade Brown.
And tonight we're looking at a fascinating topic. We're looking at jacket children and cheating. But before we get on to a guest, I just want to clarify the point, Wade, that Margaret Macaulay actually argues that if you have treated the child, cared and provided for the child as if he were yours or as if he was part of your family, that may make you legally obliged to continue to provide for him.
So the guy, men out there, it's your child.
Yeah, you've got to be careful. If you care for the child, you really ought to continue.
Because you have a bond by now after 18 years, I'd imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we have Miss Madeline Witter online. She's chair of the St. Anne and St. Mary Jamaica Cancer Society, and she's here to share with us tonight about Relay for Life 2014 Carnival in July. Miss Witter, welcome to Sex-Wise.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having us on the program.
Well, we're very happy to have you. Would you like to just tell us then what Relay for Life is all about?
Sure. Relay for Life is a celebration of life. It's a remember and fight back for cancer survivors and people that have passed. It's our way of celebrating and honouring the people that have passed and those that are still fighting the battle. And to let people know that there is life after being diagnosed with cancer. And in this day and age, there is a very, very good opportunity of survival for a long time. So we want to let everybody know that as a cancer sufferer is to come and join us, join our Survivors Club, and be with us on Relay for Life to celebrate life. The life that we have even before and after treatment, so that the life we have every day, we live each day as we want to and don't waste any time. And that's really what the experience is about. It's a celebration.
Excellent. I noticed that you have a very colourful theme, Carnival in July.
We thought we would cheer it up, cheer up the people.
Okay.
And of course, as it's near our holidays, our independence and emancipation, it seemed a rather nice topic to do.
No problem. What's the purpose of this particular program, Relay for Life?
Well, Relay for Life actually gives us fundraising opportunities where we do raise enough funds for the year to do our outreach programs, where we can do our pap smear tests and our mammograms and our prostate tests. When we go out on outreach, we are always able to do free testing in a lot of cases. So with the fundraising for that, it enables us to take nurses to, places like Islington, Highgate, Prickly Pole, Riverhead, the out-of-town places, the rural areas where people cannot afford to come into town, to pay the bus fare to come to town as well as to pay for treatment. So we go to them to ensure that they are also thought of in this program, that, early detection will save your life. And if it means that we raise the funds and give you that early detection opportunity, we would love you to come out and take and make the most of the opportunity we're giving in those areas.
So how does one get involved in all this?
Involved as a volunteer or involved in getting something in your
as a
community?
Volunteer.
As a volunteer? You could come and speak to Mrs. Marilyn Williams at Ocean Village Shopping Centre, which is where our office is. And we have lots of volunteers with us at the moment, but we always have space for extra volunteers. And what we ask you to do is you can be a volunteer for the office, but you can also be a volunteer in what we call the field. If you're a nurse and you have any experience, it's nice if we can take you with us on outreach and we are able to help the people and you're able to give us your experience. If you're a volunteer that doesn't have that capability, then in the office we need someone to man the phones. You're given literature to read, so you know a lot about cancer by the time you've been with us for a few months, and you're able to answer questions on the phone to people that call in to ask for information.
Excellent. When will this event take place?
It's this Saturday, the 26th of July, and we kick off at 5:30, and we go through the night until 5:30 a.m.
Where is it going to where will it be taking place?
It will be at Turtle River Park in Ocherias, right in the centre of town.
And what's the cost?
The cost will be $1,000 Jamaican to enter, and children under 12 are free. And naturally, those funds also go to help us with our outreach program.
And I noticed that for Cancer Survivor, it provides an opportunity to see old friends, meet new ones, and share experiences. Now, when does the first lap of the relay start?
That will start at 6:30, and we will be led out onto the track by the Digicel dance team. They're coming to help us. They're one of our sponsors, and they will lead the survivors onto the track for the first lap on Saturday night.
Excellent.
And we have at least 18 teams, and we have 8 major sponsors: Digicel, Jamaica National, and Sagicor, Vista Print, Mystic Mountain, the National Health Fund, the JMMB, and JPS. They're our big sponsors for the evening, and lots more, of course, smaller sponsors that will be there helping us as well.
Just remind us, if one wants to make a donation, how can we assist you? Where do we
You can come straight to our office to make a donation, or on the night, if you want to make a donation, we'll have our volunteers there, and you can make a donation. You'll get a receipt for everything you do for us, or you can purchase any of the badges that we have for sale. Some special relay badges will be available. If you'd like to buy a candle for your loved one, which will be lit at Luminario ceremony, we have those available, $300 each for the remembrance candles at Luminario. So there's lots of things there.
Teams wishing to participate, would they come on the day, or would they need to get in touch with you before?
Well, most of the teams are already organized, because when you want to have a team, it's a team of 10 or more, and each person in that team has a registration fee of $800 to make sure that they're really into the team factor, and they all have their same T-shirt or their same outfit on. And then what each team member is asked to do is to collect $5,000 or more per person for their team. There is an actual prize for the team that collects the most money, and also for the individual that collects the most money. And for the best dressed tent, we asked our people to dress their tents beautifully, but with the cancer theme. Each tent team must have a cancer theme. You can't just have a pretty tent. You must know about cancer and be able to speak about it under your tent to participate in that competition.
Could you remind us of what events will be taking place under these tents? What can the participants or the visitors expect to happen?
Well, each team tent will be run by the team leader, and anybody that goes to that tent will be able to get knowledge of the type of cancer that they are participating their team in. If you're doing prostate cancer, anybody under that tent should be able to answer the questions when you come to the tent. If you're doing skin cancer, the same thing. So each team tent will have a different theme of cancer, although it will be dressed for carnival. And then it will be judged before by Miss Hewlett Gordon, Mrs. Williams, and one other person that we keep a secret until the last minute. 3 people will judge the tent.
Do you offer testing at this carnival?
No, we don't have any testing at the carnival because that wouldn't be appropriate to have that. It's a bit intimate to do.
Okay.
What we do is we can tell you where to get your testing done. We can tell you also, if we're doing an outreach project, so that when we do the outreach, where it will be, and you will be able to get either something at a much lower cost, or, of course, you will be able to do your testing free.
I noticed that children are also welcome.
Yes.
Sorry?
I noticed that children are welcome.
Any activities for kids?
Oh, children are very welcome because you can never learn about cancer early enough, and children are just a sponge for knowledge. You'd be surprised what they can remember. And the fact that if their parents or any one of their relatives have cancer, it helps them deal with it too by coming to ask us the questions, and we can answer that in a way that perhaps they wouldn't answer one of their relatives or their mother or their father.
What kind of fun stuff is going to take place?
Well, the fun stuff is really the teams going around the track, and they're all trying to...
What fun stuff is going to take place?
Well, the fun stuff is really the teams going around the track, and they're all trying to compete with each other. And, of course, the show is wonderful. We have a lot of people on the show. We have Fab Five, Unique Vision. We have Winston Benjamin, Michelle Black. We have Voicemail and Hezron. We have a lot of people on the show. And Becky DePaz. We also have some dancers and some young talent in our talent contest at the end of the show. There's a lot of things to watch, and I know Digicel always give us some giveaways to make it a bit more exciting.
I noticed you mentioned there will be lots of fun in the kids' corner. What sort of fun stuff is going to take place there?
Well, usually we have the trampoline and the swings, and there's usually, what do you call those things? Bounce about.
Yes.
So they should be doing quite a lot. And there's face painting, and there's the little stick-on tattoos for the kids.
Excellent. So if we need to, can anyone pre-register? Do you have an email address?
Yes, they do. It's St. Mary Ann Cancer. That's all one word,
yes.
At cwjamaica.com.
Okay. And could you just summarize for us briefly then, just remind us what's the purpose of this particular Relay for Life, and remind us of who can come and the cost.
Okay. Well, it's our 9th Relay for Life at Turtle River Park on Saturday, the 26th of July. It's $1,000 contribution, and children under 12 are free. And this Relay for Life enables us to be a big fundraiser for the year, for us to do our outreach programs in the rural areas, offering free pap smears to the rural areas, and also low-cost mammograms. And we also, if you wish to book us for any appropriate program for your school, your church, or your hotel, or your guest house, for us to do a presentation program where we can do a presentation and allow people to get the knowledge of early detection, what to look for in all of the cancers, then we can do that for you too.
Thank you very much, Ms. Madeline Witter, Chair of the St. Anne and St. Mary Jamaica Cancer Society. We wish you well in your endeavors.
And thank you very much for having us. I hope to see you on Saturday.
We will try and be there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much indeed. We're going to take a short break now. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. You're listening to Highway FM, and of course, this is your late night show. It's called Sex Wise. I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey, and tonight we're looking at jacket children and cheating. We'll soon be asking what we have poetically called the jacket question, and then we're going to invite you to to join us in the discussion. But before we do that, Wade, I just want to remind you also that my co-host is Wade Brown, and just to remind the listeners that in Donna Hussey White, in a paper written in 2010, actually indicated that statistics out of the family court a few years ago show that 34.5% of Jamaican men tested during court proceedings turned out not to be the father of children that they were told were theirs. Listen to this, listeners. This figure is independent of those tested privately. And last year, local DNA center, Caribbean Genetics, based at the University of the West Indies, Mona, showed 1,100 men being tested with a large number proven not to be the fathers. The situation is so widespread, said the scientists, that some persons have described Jamaica as the jacket capital of the world. And this is in keeping with the data, which I mentioned at the beginning of the program, which showed that Canada has a 4% prevalence rate, France 2.8%, UK 1.6%, Mexico 11.8%, Switzerland 0.8%, and Jamaica 34.5%. Wow. So, listeners, here is the jacket question of the night. if you get pregnant and do not know who is the father, would you just give it to any of the man you're having a relationship with? Call us right now and tell us what your thoughts are. 974-5051, 974-5079, 974-5043, and 1-888-991-4152. This is IRFM, and of course you're listening to Sex Wise, and I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey, and my co-host is Wade Brown. And the jacket question: if you get pregnant and do not know who is the father, would you just give it to any of the man you're having a relationship with? That's an interesting jacket question. And of course, Wade, I'm not sure if many women are going to take us on this jacket question, but it's quite provocative.
It is, but it's funny because I think you have feminist groups who actually are against having paternity tests.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, because they're saying that you have to put the right of the child above the father in this instance, because the child has to be protected and cared for. So, men.
That's an interesting spin. Therefore, perhaps you could have an addendum to the jacket question. Do you believe that paternity testing should be banned? Did you tell me that it was banned in France?
Yes, I was seeing it says in
why would
France,
they do such a thing?
According to the government, it should remain in place because it's related to the preservation of peace within French families.
The ban should remain in place.
Yes, they upheld the ban.
Because apparently paternity testing is causing some serious
problems in France. It says here is a guy could face a €15,000 fine or a year in prison for trying to get a paternity test.
You got to be kidding. That's amazing. I hope that our legislators are not thinking of that in Jamaica. We are the jacket capital of the world. And well, interesting then, because I was reflecting on some of the consequences. And the consequences are many. One of the victims is the child.
Definitely.
The other victim is the biological father.
Yes.
The falsely named father is also a victim. And, of course, the extended family. You are now saying that child is your grandchild, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, and in fact it is not. And of course then this can lead to some serious problem. It can lead to mistrust, violence, divorce, bankruptcy, suicide, marital disharmony, and most importantly, you do not know the genetic makeup of your child. So the blood group of the child is unknown, the genetic makeup of the child is unknown, the medical history of the child is unknown. You are involved in major fraud.
Definitely.
You're listening to IRFM. Of course, this is your late night show. It's called Sex Wise.
But should women be punished?
You want to add another one to the jacket question? The jacket question of the night. Listeners, if you get pregnant and do not know who the father is, would you just give it to any of the men you are having a relationship with? Call us and tell us what your thoughts are. Our numbers are 974-5051, 974-5079, 974-5043, and 1-888-991-4152. This is IRFM, and I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey, and my co-host is
Wade Brown.
So Wade, those guys in France, they're kind of serious.
They're serious about this.
Because they're saying, if you do paternity tests and all the potential challenges could occur, it's best to just accept the child.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
I could understand where they're coming from, because if you have a child, I'm assuming after a number of years you're going to have a link or a bond with that child. And this child is not his or her fault. I mean, they're growing up in a family. You're going to just take away all support from that child now. It's hard, but at the same time, the man wants a child of his own, so it's really, really hard.
It's a tough one, and you know, it's a matter that we really need to reflect on. But I think there has to be a thing called not only the child's right, but the father's right.
Yes.
And the father's right must be, considered and upheld. We have a call on that. Caller, welcome to Sex Wise.
Good night, Doc.
Good night.
Good night to you, caller.
Pertaining to the question about who you would give, I always talk about it with my friends.
Yes.
And I always say, if I should ever end up in that situation,
yes,
I wouldn't give it to anyone.
Really?
What would
Why?
you do? What would you do? You give a child for adoption?
No, I would keep it.
What would you put on the certificate?
What would you put on the birth certificate?
My name only.
You got to be kidding. But it's not fair. No, it's not fair to the child. Listen.
Aren't you required now to have a name?
I know in growing up he would ask questions, I would be honest with him.
And tell him what?
Explain to him the situation, why it's that way.
Are you serious? You're going to tell him that you're not sure who the father is?
Yeah, you got to be honest. And the reason why I wouldn't give it to anyone, because at the end of the day, I might end up giving it to the wrong one. He might sue me back for his money.
Let me ask you this. So I'm assuming, based on how you're speaking, then that means that you're not going to have a spouse. You're just going to grow up with a child only.
Yes, my fault. I got to bear it.
Oh, okay.
Listen, you're particularly frank tonight. I'm proud of you.
Yes, I would not.
So you would stop seeing men altogether then?
That kind of honesty is rare.
You stop seeing men altogether then and just you and the child? One.
Yes, because at the end of the day, when I give it to someone and it's not theirs, then I'm going to pay the penalty. That's not something I want to give it.
You're telling us, caller, that you will, when the child grows up, you'll say, listen, I'm sorry, but I really wasn't sure who the father is, therefore I gave you my name.
Yes, I would explain to him or her, because whoever think it's theirs, then they can do a test. If it's not, fine. Everybody can do a test until they find they think they get the right one. But
so what do you think about tests? Do you think they should be outlawed in Jamaica or promoted?
Of course.
Outlawed?
There are the kids out there who don't get the right father, and they would want to know. So I think they should
promote them. Okay.
You mean you actively recommend that tests be done?
Yes.
But in some countries they say because it causes so much stress, they don't recommend it.
Yes.
Can destroy a family.
Well, caller, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm quite impressed with your honesty. That you're saying if you really are not certain who is the father, you would just not give the child a name.
I would not give.
Even though there are some persons who say that the child really needs to be brought up with a father.
Yes.
That father would. The presence of a father does help with the child's intellectual growth. So, but you would be uncomfortable. But then why don't you just tell the gentleman that I don't think it is your child, and would you be willing to accept the child?
Well, if he asks, then I would, but I wouldn't be so bold to say, I don't think it's yours. I might end up lifeless. That's not something I want to.
Okay, caller, listen, thanks very much for participation tonight. Thanks very much indeed. Okay. You're listening to IRFM, and this is your late night show. It's called Sex Wise. I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey, and my co-host is
Wade Brown.
And the jacket question for tonight is, if you get pregnant and do not know who is the father, would you just give it to any of the man you have a relationship with? And I hear some noise in the background. So you're on a caller line. Caller, welcome to Sex Wise.
Hello.
Good night. Another woman.
Yeah, welcome to Sex Wise, caller.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
I think it's like a careless woman would get pregnant outside the relationship.
Really?
Somebody who does not care about the person in the house and so on.
You're careless. Some people
why would you say careless?
If you're going to go outside to have sex with somebody else, I think you should protect yourself.
All right, but let's presume...
You don't care who my jacket child.
Let's presume that she made an error. What does she do?
Pardon me?
Let's presume she's careless and she made an error and got pregnant. What should she do? What would you recommend that she do?
I don't know, but I don't think I would give a jacket child to the person at home. I don't think anyone should go outside a relationship to do stuff.
But how would you know that's a jacket then? Because you're having sex with two men now.
Hey, why you going to have sex with two men?
No, but if you do that, how would you know it's a jacket child?
But it happens. It happens.
Oh, who would I know?
How would the woman know if it's a jacket child?
That's the fear part she needs to know where she was the last time.
Because you see, she might be in a committed relationship with her partner, yes, and she has an outside relationship, and she gets pregnant. She really is not certain who is the father.
But doctor,
yes,
if you're at home and your relationship is okay, I don't think you should be outside. If something wrong inside, you leave that relationship and go and get somebody else. You don't give a jacket child to another man. I
totally agree with you, but these things happen. Did you hear the statistic that I mentioned?
Go ahead.
The jacket rate in Jamaica is almost 35%.
Yes.
And so therefore it means
that's
that
high.
Yep, it's extremely high. So this is a reality we have to deal with. So so the argument is, even though it is inappropriate for women to cheat on their partners,
right.
they are cheating. And so the question is, who do you give the child to if you really suspect strongly that you're pregnant not for
it had to be the guy in the house, but that's living in a guilt. That's a big guilt to carry around.
You would recommend that woman give it to the guy in the house?
Recommend it. That's exactly what would happen. You give the guy in the house, and then the whole family member will say, him not look like him, and him not this, and him not that, and it will bring a big feud sometime. Let me give you a story. Yes. This gentleman was with a woman, so they break up, but him cannot get kids, none at all. And him been with this girl, and the girl got pregnant, which is outside, and him tell him, say, a female child.
Yes.
And the man cannot get woman pregnant. And him take the baby because him don't have any.
Okay.
So you see, them radio nowadays, then he's beaten.
So do you think
there's something right inside, you're going.
Do you think women should be penalized for this?
Of course. Me now big up no man. Me have two kids going on 3 now. I'm pregnant.
Congratulations.
One is 19, one is 15. And I don't give jacket. And they still don't take care of the child. You understand? So
you mean your first baby father didn't take care of the child?
Not a 2 baby father I have, going on 3 baby father. Kind of embarrassed to say it like that, talk about it like that.
And have they taken care of it?
No,
okay.
No. You see me, I say, and inside the house, if me have somebody in the house, I never cheat. Never. You move on. If something not right in your house,
but,
you move on.
That's kind of simplistic, because do you agree that a woman can be attracted to a man without being aroused by him?
That's true.
That's why women cheat sometimes, because she's attracted to the stability, the money.
Well, you cheat with caution.
You can't arouse her.
Cheat with caution. You know, carry picnic home enough for your man. And you sometimes they and know enough for the man. And then still take it to upon them.
Yeah, no.
That's not love. That's not love.
So your advice to the women who are doing this is that they should just stop what they're doing.
They should be more careful.
Yes.
Stop what you're doing. If you think you're in a relationship and it's not working out, talk about it or leave it alone. Don't go running around. And I know this girl, she said, me know I'm pregnant, but I don't feel that Monday. She don't know.
Okay, that's a
I've been with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months.
Okay, listen, thanks very much for your very vibrant contribution to the discussion tonight, and it was a pleasure having you. You're listening to.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very much. You're listening to IFM, and this is Sexwise, and I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey, and my co-host is
Wade Brown.
And the jacket question tonight is: if you get pregnant, and you do not know who the father is, would you give it to
any of the men you're having a relationship with?
Any of the men you're having a relationship with. Interesting discussion, because 2 ladies very vocal and
against it
and enthusiastic in their discourse. But then we looked quickly at some of the consequences of paternity fraud, and we mentioned the fact that the child is a victim,
definitely,
the biological father, the falsely named father, and the extended family, and that it can lead to medical complications, mistrust, violence, divorce, bankruptcy, and suicide. You can call us at 974-5051, 974-5079, 974-5043, and 1-888-991-4152, and answer the jacket question. If you get pregnant and do not know
who the father is, would you give it to any of the men you're having a relationship with?
Right. Call us and tell us what your thoughts are. Okay, wait. I want us to just take a quick look at some of the possible causes why women behave this way. I have some thoughts that I reflected on. What are your thoughts? Why would they give a child to a man who is not his?
It could be down to economics. I think that has a part to play in that. But I think that women for whatever reason, give the impression that what they're attracted to is what they're aroused by, and I think that is not the case. And you're home with a stable guy, but in truth, it can't make you feel a certain way, and you're gonna stray, and you don't want to leave a lifestyle and stability. So you cheat, something happens, you won't give the guy on the side of the baby. The guy at home is gonna get a child.
So therefore, you think that one of the root causes then is a woman in a committed, stable relationship is not being satisfied sexually?
Yes.
Or she has some other challenges that is not being met. She doesn't find her partner physically attractive, and she gets involved in another relationship, becomes pregnant, and she feels obliged to give the child to the man with whom she lives.
Yes, because she's looking out for the well-being of the child, because you know the guy at home, he's a good dad, good husband, good boyfriend. He's not going to leave. He's going to be there for the child, and he's going to support the child financially. But the guy on the side maybe has not enough that and can't do that, so he's not going to get that child.
So you're saying, therefore, that boredom, perhaps, sexual incompatibility,
that's a thing. Yes, definitely.
Physical appearance, the man is just not sexy enough.
Maybe not daring enough, not a bad boy.
Oh, really? You mean the lady, he might not be meeting her expectation?
Yes.
Okay. What about lack of attention? Some men get a little lethargic. They become complacent.
Definitely, that's true.
And, there's actually one issue that I've had to deal with over the years with my own patients is the absentee partner. The partner who is on a ship for months at a time.
Long distance relationships.
The partners who are overseas for many months, sometimes years, and in many instances, the female partner becomes lonesome, and she acts inappropriately and gets burnt. And so she sends for her male partner, invite him to come and give him the baby. And that seemed to be quite unkind, quite unkind. But you're listening to IRFM, and of course the jacket question is, if you get pregnant and do not know who is the father, would you give it to any of the men who you're having you're having a relationship with? We have a call online. Caller, welcome to Sexwise.
Good night, caller.
Good night, caller. The line is open.
Hello.
Good night to you, caller.
Good night to you.
Yeah, go right ahead. Tell us what's on your mind.
Yes. If I get pregnant,
yes,
I go have 2 months.
Yes. You mean if you have a relationship with 2 men and you get pregnant?
Yes.
Okay.
I would give them the jacket.
Which one?
Who would you give?
Which one
who would you give the jacket to?
The man, any one of them.
No, but you have to choose, man.
How you decide?
What criteria do you use to decide who's best able to take care of the child?
Because this is what happens. Sometimes you live with the man inside of the house, and them own children are not taking care of them, none at all.
Okay.
But when you carry jacket come in and pick them, they take care of more than them.
What a stress. Really? What a stress. Well, no, listen, seriously. Caller, why would the man be more inclined to love an outside child than a child who, belongs to him?
Yes, majority of the man, that's how them stay.
Really?
What would be the special characteristic of this child? Why do you think the man would love the child?
Me and a whole,
Yeah.
I will have 2 men one time.
Okay, you're a good woman.
So, I don't really have a problem with it.
I understand. But it does have...
I take my own eyes and
see. Yeah,
So me just put it that way and say, well, me feel in my case, if it should even happen to me, that's what I would do.
But Carl, I need you to clarify something for me. You said if you have a relationship with 2 men, you get pregnant, and I presume you'd be living with one, and you have an outside partner. Who would you give the child to?
If you love the one inside,
yes,
you can come to him.
You would, and you suspect that the one inside would not complain. Your experience is that men like outside children, men like jackets?
Yes, majority of them.
Oh. Wait, this is fantastic.
Definitely.
Now, could it be, caller, that perhaps the outside child looks a little different from the one inside?
Yes.
In what way? A browning, perhaps?
Some of them brown, some black, some are
So the guy wants a browning child.
Some are red here. As you look upon them, you can know definitely say it's not your child.
Yes, but the man likes that child.
The man like that one, and the one we have seen, like at all.
Whoa. So you think that men should ask for paternity test for each child they get?
Yes, if they know that their girlfriend or them wife cheated on them.
So even if it doesn't suspect that she's cheating, you think you should still ask or just let it rest?
So long as the children I have no problem with it if I am a man.
Oh, okay.
Okay, caller, listen, fantastic discussion, and your contribution is really appreciated. Thanks very much for calling us tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you are listening to IRFM, and of course this is Sex Wise. I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey, and my co-host is
Wade Brown.
And we're going to close the phone lines for now until 10:30 when we'll open the lines again. Our numbers, let me remind you, would be 974-5051, 974-5079, 974-5043, and 1-888-991-4152. Okay, we are now joined by my friend Dr. Herbert Gale, anthropologist. He hasn't joined us yet. He'll be coming on soon. Okay, we'll soon be joined by Dr. Herbert Gale, anthropologist and lecturer in the Department of Sociology and Social Work and chairman of Fathers Inc. He's going to, shed some light on some of these interesting sociological issues. The way that those three callers are fascinating.
Oh, definitely. All women.
The one said that she would keep the child and not give it to
anybody. Yes, that's a new one.
And the other one said that she just give it to the guy who she has, in-house. Mm-hmm. And her experience is that they like an outside child that has a little coloration. It's really amazing. Really absolutely amazing. The frankness of these women is profound. Absolutely profound. Okay, you listen to IRFM, and this is Sex Wise. I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey. Do you have a call in line or Dr. Gale? Dr. Gale. Okay, no problem. Dr. Gale, welcome to Sex Wise, sir.
Yes, man, thanks.
In fact, you were with me about 3 weeks ago, and it's really good to have you back because we are looking at a topic that you're very familiar with and could add some clarity to. We're looking at jacket children, and we'll look at some data, which is very worrisome, and I know you're a man that likes data. And the data produced by the Family Court is that the 34.5% prevalence of paternity fraud. What's your experience with this phenomenon?
All right. Before we get into that, I just want people to recognize that some of these data have various contexts that they have to pay attention to.
Okay.
For example, data from the University Hospital of the West Indies some years ago would have shown very similar material to what you're getting to. I think that was 30% also.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Those are cases of persons who already had a problematic relationship. In other words, if the family court is giving you 30%, it's giving you a percentage of men who were not stepping up and who were taken to the family court, which means some of these men already had doubts. So that would not be the truest reflection. Other data showing about 1 of 5. In other words, slightly over 20% of families in Jamaica have a jacket going on.
Okay.
Right, so the 30-odd would be the 30-odd percentage that you'll be trying.
At the far end of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. So it's basically 20, right, okay.
But 1 of 5
average,
is extremely high.
Yes, that's right. 20%. Mm-hmm.
What we're finding is that Jamaica, because of our background, coming through slavery and the peasantry and all of that, and because of the traditions we've had in terms of fatherhood and parenting, we have a major child shifting phenomenon going on, meaning that what happens is that families try to find the best scenario they can for children. So in a case where women have to, and I'm going to use a word that people understand very well, raffle the child, right? They do not necessarily want the father of the child, but the father who has the highest earning capacity to father the child, and that is one of the leading causes driving jackets in Jamaica. So in other words, if 3 or 4 men, and in some cases we've seen up to 7 cases, 7 men with just 1 woman.
Run that by me, Herbie. You've had women having 7 men?
7 fathers. That's the highest case we've ever seen here.
Okay.
Right, and we've also seen cases of 5 fathers for 3 children. So child-shifting practices are extremely strong.
Okay.
In those cases, what they do is, as the Jamaican people label it, raffle the child, meaning that one or ones with the highest income, those are the ones who get the child. And then because we have some very old-fashioned practices where grandma takes up the child and look at it and say, yeah, it's a girl. A few. You did go there.
Yes, Herbie. Okay.
So it means that a lot of working class and other women can bank on that, knowing that there's not going to be any genuine DNA.
Or the grandmother determines if it is yours or not.
It's the DNA office.
I hear you. Okay.
But what has happened now are some things catching up with the Jamaican population. You have to have DNA to file for your children now. So that's another set of problems. Plus, when they go to the family court now makes sure that, you can't be taking a man through the wire anymore. Those days are long over. Before we are certain that it is his child that this quarrel is about. And that is why the data are popping up all over the place now in the last, say, 3-4 years.
Yes.
And lots of people are going crazy. I mean, we've had cases where people who are considered to be brothers who actually look alike were actually cousins. So there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. And it does require counseling. It does require, serious intervention, because there have been recent cases that we have, where I was doing jacket on a program, and somebody told me that he had already attempted to kill himself twice after discovering that he was not, a child of this very smart man that everybody in the community liked. And, and we have to take them from there and take them to our process, making them recognize that, hey, you are a human being despite the person who is not your father, is the person you are associated with. We're also getting some good news coming from the family court, in that the biological fathers and the paternity frauded fathers are actually linking up in some cases, and actually both of them taking care of the child.
Excellent.
News, yes.
That's what I think.
That surprised me, Herbie. By the way, Herbie, with respect to your own experience on the field, in the field, what do you think are the root causes that drives this 1 in 5 paternity fraud?
Well, that's what I was explaining to you, that, because of our history. Remember in 1838, we never even had fathers in it.
Yeah.
Right. So we're coming from a point of 0. So you're going to have all kinds of chaos. One way that some people look on it is that Jamaican women are bad. That's a sad way to look on it, because that is not the reality. The reality is that we are a country in transition. We're coming from a period where we simply never had fathers. Mothers were just completely responsible for everything, and women literally had to hustle. And child shifting practice is a hustling form. So a woman trying to survive who has had to do a part-time thing with different men, and look at all of them sometimes with discussion with her sister or mother, and they say, try hers, man, and it's not too bad.
So you're choosing. In fact, I remember the last time you were with me, you mentioned that men who were 6 feet or over, or athletically built, were the ones that were given first choice. I'm so unkind, but I forgive you. Okay, but you said
it's a survival strategy.
Yes.
And it's very interesting because when you look at the fact that if you look at pre-selection, which you know is a biological phenomenon connected to women, where women are actually responsible for what the species looks like, not men. And that has been a fable and a myth for quite a while.
And that applies to many animal species too.
Yes. So what happened in pre-selection is that women are concerned about getting the best gene. So quite often when a man is a village ram, women flock to him because they want to know what on earth he has, right? So other women are attracted to him.
I've seen that so many times, yes. I've known a gentleman, in fact, who has 15 baby mothers.
Right. So quite often, that man, though he is the village ram and he got a girl pregnant, the mother now turns around and does not accept that is the father. That's another big scenario, very popular scenario. And what happens is that they look for the guy down the road who was also in a relationship with the girl, who is more stable and, and so forth, and they select him as the father for the child.
Hold on, you're saying she gets pregnant for the village ram, but she chooses a more stable fellow to nurture the child?
Her mother is often involved in the child.
The mother makes a choice as to who the father should be?
Yes.
Okay.
Jacket racket is often promoted by grandmother.
So, Dr. Gill.
Jacket racket.
So, Dr. Gill, so basically you're saying that what determines fatherhood is society and not biology then, basically?
Yes, in the case of the jacket racket, yes.
And you said the jacket racket is promoted by a grandmother?
Yes, quite often, because they're the ones who have the family power in extended family settings where they tell the child what's going on. Remember, in an extended family setting, that young woman is eating from the pot of grandma, not her mother. So she does not have the power to determine, to make too many statements. Remember also that even when she got pregnant, there was, in more than half of the cases we've looked at, once a girl gets pregnant early, there's a rift immediately between her and her mother because of the biological power issues, because now there are two women in the house. So grandma quite often overpowers this young girl who is now pregnant to remind her who is the woman inside this place. And determining the father of the child in a case where a jacket racket is applicable is also one of her powers. Okay.
Amazing. So, again, from your experience, you mentioned that there are some serious adverse consequences. Remind us again of what are the potential risk to the family dynamics when this jacket takes place.
Well, the first one we have to look at is medical, because if your father carries a particular gene and you have it in your head that you are somebody else's child, you could very well be running the risk of dying of a condition that you inherited that you don't know of.
Right.
So from that pure medical position, people ought to know who their parents are. The other thing is that is the traits we carry. Because remember, despite the fact that we all love to have the fun of overestimating the social sciences, biology is very critical. And we need to know, if there's a weakness in our family, whether it's a social or whatever weakness, we need to know these things. The other thing is about nurture. You need to know your father as a nurturing figure. He needs to be there for you. And so the whole issue of identity, affirmation, and reaffirmation, and all of these things are missed. In fact, let us say that in a way in which everybody can understand. What we're saying is that children need to know who their parents are so that they can know what to expect when they become that age. That's critical for all human beings. To know when anybody wants to know. Like, in fact, let me give you an example. A young woman said to me the other day, right, she's a jacket, right? She said to me that she find herself getting plump. Doesn't matter the slightest thing she eat. And she can't understand because everybody in her family, everybody in her father's side is skinny. So she can't understand it. It don't matter if she eat an orange after 7 o'clock. She put on weight within 3 days.
Okay.
When she he found her genuine family. Everybody inside in that family
was obese. Okay, so the obesity gene ran in that side of the family.
It's not funny. In other words, this person needs to understand that they have a metabolism problem, and so they need to understand these things from very early. Yeah.
Are there any other major complications that you can remind us of?
The big problem is the conflict side. And that's one of the reasons why I have been attracted to the racket, because lots of people get killed in it, you know.
They do?
Killed?
What aggravates, what creates the problem?
In fact, we've had a couple murder-suicide that we suspect had a jacket problem in it, based on what neighbors say. But since we can't interview the dead, then, you know, we can't get the full data. But, I mean, we've had cases where when you speak to the people in the community, that is what they're whispering, that is a discovery. You see, so in other words, not everybody can accept that after they take care of a child, for 15, 20 years, then they discover that the child is not theirs.
Understandably. You know, before you came on...
Now, you can take them to court to get back your money.
And would you be compensated for all the years that you spent, for the years over which you cared for the child?
I've never heard of anybody who actually does it, but the point is that legally they can. But I'm not.
Wouldn't this be very hard though, because you need to provide proof of payment and everything?
Well, in fact, we know of fathers who keep receipts for everything they give their child. Literally. I mean, I don't think it's the best practice, but I'm saying that some people have now become that paranoid about the whole thing. I mean, we don't want to be, I don't see us, you know, going anywhere fast with something as staggering as 1 of 5 children out there on the road have no idea. I mean, when people spend the time cussing in Jamaica how men are irresponsible, and it's one of the concerns I have. You look at Professor Patricia Anderson's work, it shows that 1 of 5 children have no idea who their father is. Sorry, 1 of 10.
Yeah.
In this study that she did. 70% of children, of course, have regular access to their fathers in Jamaica, which is phenomenal given where we're coming from. But if you look at these gaps, if you look at that 10% of children who are robbed of their fathers, and then add on top of that another say 20% who have the wrong fathers. A lot of kids having chaotic problems, father problems that the father themselves never even created in the first place.
In other words, you think it is very unfair to be bashing men all the time. The women have to accept some responsibility for some of the...
You know that in Jamaica, though, we're not going to bash women in that case because we're politically macho-focused. Big up, mama. I mean, even if you don't have a mother and you go to a dance and it's a big up mama, you have to put up your hand fast.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
Big up mama, man, I'll bust big blank for mother and him don't have a mother.
Yes.
Never met a mother in his life. Even people who discover that their sister was their mother still a bust blank. So we're a mama country, but what I'm saying is that the time has come for us to begin to examine this thing in a little bit more, with a little bit less emotion.
Okay.
A little bit more scholarship and begin to develop the parenting frames of encouraging people to say, look, you know, if you describe the man as a half a man, it's a child's father. Allow the child to be able to enjoy his affirmation and to work with his father and to be close to his father. So those are some of the problems we're having. Because I can tell you, half the times when a child discovers his father, there's the other problem that his father is not as good as the one who was his pretend father. You know?
Oh, I see. So how does he cope with that? How does he address that issue? Because
it's a major crisis. Even people who are in their 20s, 25, 26, doing their master's degree. I've had cases where one just collapsed in the office. What is the problem? I just discovered who my father is.
Okay.
A gun.
Okay, and the father was nothing like what he had envisioned.
The father is a gunman.
Okay.
So how do you know, and that is why we're saying, and that's one of the reasons why I have pushed very hard for Caribbean governments to pay attention to the welfare of our women, because you don't want your women out on the road hustling to the extent where, a gunman is one of the 5 candidates, in the raffle. I mean, even if we get as far as the raffle, keep the gunman out of the raffle, man.
Well, you're saying, Herbs, that when the grandmother decided to get involved in this raffling, she sometimes identified a gunman as an appropriate father.
Right, because he would not be selected by grandma, remember?
Oh.
Grandma will take the gunman money,
Oh, yes, that's where you're coming from. He's not selected at all. She knows he's the father.
Right.
But the child is given to someone more appropriate.
Right.
Okay.
So now when the child discovers that the gunman who was shot and killed 2 years ago is actually my father, how does that person, how many years does it take that young man to repair?
Yeah, that's devastating. And so these offsprings end up with a lot of depression, I presume?
Oh, yes.
Anger.
Critical to people who have to go through paternity fraud. It's very hard on them. I mean the isolated cases of the both biological and other father coming together and discovering that boy, actually the two of us are cousins, and so those positive weird cases are isolated cases, and a lot of the cases the people go through major trauma.
But I'm trying to understand, is it that in a case of somebody 25 years old, if I know that this guy's not your father, but the guy at home has been taking care of you all your life, you're just, because it's not the same blood, you're just going to stop feeling for this guy at home now and going to...
In fact, I can tell you this. I'm certain I've seen over 100 cases of that. And I can't remember more than 5 deciding to stop being the father. Remember that men develop major attachment, Once a man gets attached to a child, that men suffer from something called loyalty. That banks and businesses can set up their ads on male loyalty.
You're describing as suffering from. You're prone to.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's a suffering, because you can't bank on you knowing that you're coming to drink at the same bar.
Okay.
Same barber. Yeah. Believe me, I've used the word deliberately. You go to the same barber.
That is true. I go to the same barber. I need a haircut and if I can't make it, I just don't get a haircut.
You have the money at one commercial bank.
Yes, that is true.
Women don't do these things. Women have...
We have issues, Herbs.
Yes, if a woman goes to a hairdresser and she keep burning up her hair, she says, Susie, who do your hair? And she gone over Susie place,
But we stick to the guy even though he gives us fungus.
So cut the barber and show the barber what to do. We're not leaving the barber.
Okay.
Men make what we call limbic connections.
Yeah.
And we stay with them. Now, remember, it don't matter how much, if you listen to the men who are getting born from their women, you, as a man, as a virgin, can't go tell them to get born, You can't. I've seen men grabbing men and fighting and dropping gutters and so forth because the man telling that him getting Easter at Christmas time,
Oh.
So boy, your Christmas is still Easter boss, because a beer bun you get. All
and that's war.
The proper war. And the brother won't getting born, but your virgin can't say that to you. Women don't have those problems. One can always call a woman and say, yeah, I get born now. Simple. But when we make attachments, we have a sense of blind loyalty that is crazy. I mean, all the scholars I know who study this are fascinated by the depth to which men can make these attachments. So once you get attached to a child, I tell you, it's rarely a man pulls away and takes them to court and all these things.
That's good to know, still.
But literally stay with the child.
Okay, in your line of work, and you say you have seen like about 100 cases, how do you try and help them to cope, to adapt to the realization that their biological father is not really the man who was taking care of them all their lives?
Well, one of the things we often say to people is, now that you have information, you have power. And we make sure we keep positive, because the truth of the matter is that it's better to discover that person is your father And I will go through and let them know what it means now that this person is your father. A, you have to make a decision as to whether or not you want to associate with him, right? B, once you've made a decision, then, you have to try and find some positive ways to catch up on the last years. C, the man who's played the role of your father for all these years, you can't deny him the fact that, because fathering is both biological and social. So basically, most of the people end up with two fathers.
Okay. In the case of a guy discovering that he has a jacket, do you think it's that the thought of his woman giving him bun, or just the thought of him having a child not his own that's giving him mental anguish?
Big philosophical question. What we've discovered is the bun part is bun. It burns.
Just wait.
Men, you know that men don't do very well with Easter. that
okay.
part stings.
Okay.
But then after that, the men have to go through the whole issue of the fraud, because men demand from their fellow men, honesty, no matter how bad man you tell me, even though they can't handle it. It's a requirement of brotherhood. So that is a major fracture. So you have to go through all of that, and that is why I'm saying to you that there's a lot of conflict, a lot of physical fights and bloodshed when these things happen. Loads, nothing we can imagine. I mean, we're talking about major domestic violence problems for a lot of these men, because they can't cope. They don't know any other way to relate to it, and in those cases there is need for intervention, because domestic violence is a complete no-no.
When you just started your discussion, you mentioned that we are ignoring the role that women play in the genesis of all of this. In the last 2 minutes or so that we have with you, do you have any advice that you can give to policy, policy shakers and makers as to how we can try at least begin to overcome this issue?
I think the direction for the country to go is educating people, is making people recognize that, look, there's a certain sense of responsibility that everybody must have towards their family. The second point is, and it's something I've said that before that I've been pushing for years, is to make sure that all our women have at least, Mark, and this is coming from me, somebody who's been pushing for our boys, but there's a point beyond that we must recognize, that we have to make sure that our women have basic needs, because a lot of our chaos comes out of our women, some of our women not having basic needs. Right?
Remind us, as you said, there's a sequence of actions that these women pursue if their needs are not met. There's a
six-tiered frame that families, it's not just women, it's the families carry out. The first thing is that they remove the man if the man is unemployed in the family for quite a while.
You mean they throw him out?
Yes, because half a man. So they're saying, if you look at Learning to Be a Man, 2001 by Chevans, you'll see where they say that they remove a half a man so a whole man can come in. Okay,
so it's thrown out to leave the opportunity for a real man to enter.
Right. Between the man and the woman, because the man is not earning any money, and therefore his major block of provision is broken.
Okay.
The second thing is that the woman takes on extra jobs. Third position is that she has a son, she sends the son out to act as a father to hustle. The fourth thing, and sometimes third and fourth is interchangeable, is that she takes on an extra man or gets involved in part-time prostitution. Right? The fifth thing is that they send the girls that they have to live with an auntie, and sometimes in cases an uncle. And please bear in mind that these are social stems. They are not biological words. An auntie can be anybody and an uncle can be anybody, including sometimes negotiation with adult males to have relationships with these girls. Right?
Yes.
And 6 to 1. The 6th one is pimping the daughter full time. So, I mean, once we intervene in our family and they are at any of these middle stages or towards the end, we know the family has already collapsed economically.
So the root cause is economics then?
Economics is a major crisis because even those steps, there's going to be jacket problem there again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're pushing for us to at least try and address and meet the basic needs of our women.
Expand our PATH program.
Yes.
Push economic development in this country. Let us look at the bottom line and make sure that our families can actually find food to eat because let us look at the bottom line and make sure that our families can actually find food to eat because once you can't do that, the most primal instinct in a human being, in the human species, is to exist.
It's to survive, yeah. It's interesting, because I was told, in fact, that in England, once a woman has a child, the state immediately brings milk to the home.
Yes.
And all the child's needs are, someone comes and says, the child being well taken care of. What can we do to help to make sure this child is appropriately fed and vaccinated and clothed and so on? We have a long way to go, don't we?
In fact, a woman's life changes massively when she gets pregnant and has a child.
Yes.
In fact, scans have shown that different aspects of her brain now become augmented or sharpened and different sections become diminished.
Yes.
A baby changes a woman's life, and so people can sit and judge and say, boy, she give the man bun or she give the man jacket. But if she's hungry and she has a child and the biological father is not stepping up, a new father can be created.
Okay, absolutely fascinating. It's really a pleasure sharing thoughts with you. We could talk for hours about this, but you've actually clarified a whole raft of concerns we've had. And I must tell the truth, I never knew that there was this entrenched jacket racket. But it's really an eye-opener, and we're really happy that you could take the time out to share thoughts with us tonight. And of course, you're a part of the IRFM family, and we're looking forward to hearing from you again very soon.
My pleasure.
All the best, sir. That was Dr. Herbert Gale, anthropologist and lecturer in the Department of Sociology and Social Work, chairman of Fathers Incorporated. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
This needs surgeon. I can't afford to pay for it. Oh, my daughter all tied up.
No. Ezekiel, you love me?
Baby.
Ezekiel, you're the married man again?
Well, all man walk one of them can't get bun. And why you hear this? And don't stop, listen. Yes, man. Are your best friend I give you bun. Best friend I give you. Best friend I give you bun. Best friend I give you. Got some nowadays, them a push up them chests. I talk how much them harder than the rest. I go on like say, him can't get bun. And nothing left in house to grind him come. In your house, go on like him a the owner. With you, me go on like him a the father. In here you come rest and nothing now run. Cause you want him a bedroom from now.
All right. Yes, you get burned. This is IRFM, and of course, this is your late night show. It's called Sex Wise. I'm your host, Dr. Al Bailey, and my co-host is Wade Brown. And we've had an interesting discussion with Dr. Herbert Gale, anthropologist and lecturer in the Department of Sociology. I had no idea, Wayne, that we had this jacket racket going on. Quite an eye-opener, and that the grandmothers were basically at the epicenter of this. But we want you to join us online now and share your thoughts with us. The lines are now open, and you can call us at 974-5051, 974-5079, 974-5043, and 1-888-991-4152. We had a jacket question. Of course, it is still live. If you get pregnant and do not know who the father is, would you give it to the man or the men? Which one of the men you're having a relationship with would you give the child to? The discussion we had with Ferbs was amazing.
Definitely.
That the economic issues, because we're looking at root causes, and apparently, poverty, economic issues is driving what's happening. So we have a caller, and caller, welcome to Sex Wise.
Good night, Doc.
Good night to you, sir.
You know, once I called on this program and I was saying to the host that men don't give birth, it's only women give birth.
You really believe that?
It is a man's genes to be polygamous. And a man can't come home and tell a woman that, okay, I'm pregnant for you and it is your child. And the host said that I was sexist.
Yeah, no, I mean, that kind of argument would definitely irritate, Andrea, but I can understand. So
you know, this, because you are saying that was confirmed to me because the rate at what it is going, so many women, so many men father and kids have been taking their kids that are not their own. You know, it's really alarming.
Yeah, it's actually frightening, and based on what we discussed with the anthropologists, we really have a problem in our hands, and we need to reflect on it, because they say that this is actually one of the root causes of a lot of the violence in our society.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So you think...
And I think fathers are different from dads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
A man can father many kids, but maybe it's only one be a father.
Mm-hmm.
You know, be a dad to take care of the child.
So caller, what kind of advice would you give, the woman in terms of how to cope with this reality? Because what she's saying, that women don't like half a man, and that if he is not up to scratch, she's going to get rid of him.
Yeah, but women must stop exchanging sexual favors for money. They must become more independent.
Boy, that's rough, I mean, listen.
That's simplistic, That's very simplistic.
If you listen to what the Herb said, he said, when you are faced, there's some hierarchy of needs, and when it comes down to just basic survival, oftentimes morality it takes pride of place.
Get thrown out.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Many of the Christians listening to us might find that quite objectionable, but it's a fact. That when people are hungry and they are destitute, and when they have another 2 or 3 mouths to feed, then this sequence of events he mentioned, where the woman literally slides down the ladder of decadence, so to the point where she actually even gives out her daughter to auntie, quote unquote, or uncle, quote unquote, indicates that poverty and is one of the root cause of many of our problems. So it's easy to say women should behave themselves, but it might be difficult to do so.
I can understand, but I'm telling you to put a strain on the good fathers out there who want to take care of a child.
I agree.
And then you have to think you have 5 even who don't father here because you see them begging, and every child has a father and a mother.
Caller, what do you think should happen to a woman who is found out is to be lying about the paternity of her child?
Well, she she would have to live with all of her life, And that's depending on the personality of the person.
Should she be penalized?
Well, she penalized, or you can penalize her.
But 10
to 1 chance she wouldn't have any money to pay back the man if the man want back the money for his kid, because that's the same, they get in the same position.
But Colin, to talk about guilt, the impression I got from speaking with Dr. Gale is that ladies are not guilty at all, and they feel quite justified in doing what they had to do.
Oh, okay.
So to argue about guilt, and in fact what she said, that's another argument, because she knows what she's doing, because she said this is in the best interest of me and the child.
Okay.
So that's an interesting spin. But
so it's an economical situation we have here that can mean that sexual situation.
No, man, it's pure economy. Because she argued, if you were to listen to the argument, if one of his own students, his father was a gunman, but the grandmother had made a decision that he was not a good father and that someone else in the community should have been given the opportunity to grow him up.
Okay.
And so she knew who the father was, but the grandmother in the jacket racket and a raffling thing said, okay, then there have been 4 men in your lives, and he need me the man. Okay, Tom is going to be the father.
So 10 to 1 chance you won't find a father who would go out and put out his daughter to gain money, but most of the mothers would do that.
Well, based on what is happening here, apparently the mother has to make an economic decision. Well, caller, listen, we have had a nice chat with you. Thanks very much for calling.
Yes, doctor.
Thanks very much indeed. You're listening.
I will enjoy your program.
No problem. Thanks very much. You're listening to IRFM, and this is Dr. Al Bailey, and my co-host is
Wade Brown.
Wade. And Devon might join in the debate, but
finally.
But as you said, it's quite easy to be dismissive and say women must just behave themselves. But when you look at the hierarchy of needs, if a person's back is against the wall, food, clothing, shelter, basic survival.
Yes, definitely. Tough choices.
But morality sometimes fade into
it does.
Okay, you can join us online at 9745051, 9745079, 9745043, and 1-888-901-4152. Caller, welcome to Sexwise.
Good night, caller.
Good night, caller.
Aye.
Good night to you, sir.
Aye.
Yes, sir.
Boy, I will say, the lady there, I laughed, I nearly pop up now.
Which one? The one who would give the child to the man?
Or nobody?
Or nobody? Which one?
The one who said, boy, when I give jacket.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we should have the choice, which if it's a question of who's the best person to grow up the child. What do you think?
Well, maybe at the father, because that's my figure jacket still. So me, I wonder if a black jacket or a white jacket or a brown jacket.
Well, you just said the father cause.
Well, apparently your argument, is that if the jacket has a nice color, then the man will be more than happy to wear it.
Yeah.
So it was an eye-opener to you, caller.
Eh?
It was an eye-opener to you. That there are different colors of the jacket, you say. And she seemed to be a fairly mature woman.
Yeah, because she comes straight.
Yeah, man. She telling you frankly that her experience tells her that that's how women operate.
So, caller.
And that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, some of the jacket them still. Some of them always work out for something good still, won't be still,
Well, again, if you were to listen to what Dr. Gale said, if for whatever reason a young girl gets pregnant for an inappropriate man, the grandmother will find an appropriate father for the child.
Yeah.
Therefore, perhaps all's well that ends well as far as that is concerned. But a host of other issues in that the child's rights have not necessarily been respected because the child might not really know who his real father is.
Yes.
And that is a problem.
Yeah, because when them grow up and come up big, I'm going to want him right father, and that bring a big problem. That is true.
Yes, indeed. And the child might have some medical issues and some personality issues that runs in families, and he might really be totally ignorant of that.
Yeah, of course. And sometimes it brings effect to the child,
Well, there's no doubt. And, one really, I suppose we just have to recognize that these things are happening and hope that we can sensitize our women folk and the men folk as to what's happening on the ground. And we need to be your brothers, keepers, and to protect each other from falling prey to this kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true that.
Well, sir, thank you.
Well, caller.
Yeah.
So what would be your message to a man who finds out he has a jacket?
What you say?
What would be your message to a guy who finds out he has a jacket?
Well, I find out if me find out he have a jacket.
Yeah, what would you tell a guy to do? Keep the child or run away?
Well, I would keep the child and I would adapt him in my name and grow it up.
You're a good man.
That's a good guy.
You're a good man. Because you can't abandon the child.
No, it's how you grow the child, So, you see, you can grow him up to something, And if he won't take it, and you see like something wrong with him, you can take him to a psychiatrist doctor. You see?
Yes.
So, not really wrong with that still. It's only the father really still.
Well, Carlo, thank you very much for participating in the show tonight.
Yeah. Doc, you see, man, like you see, them father now, a virgin, they have a virgin, them man a good father, man like Marshy and Stitch. Good father. Them man they grow them child very good. Me have to big up them man they see and yourself on IRFM.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, original Jatabi from St. Thomas.
Okay, Jatabi. Thanks very much for calling. You're listening to IRFM, and of course, this is Sexwise, and my co-host is Wade Brown, and I'm Dr. Al Bailey. We have a caller, line caller. Welcome to IRFM.
Greetings, Dr. Bailey.
Greetings to you, sir.
And greetings also to your co-host.
Yes, sir.
And greetings to the wider Jamaica.
And the IRFM family overseas.
Most definitely.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind tonight?
Why, my virgin.
Yes, man.
Right, rough.
you
statistics
you get you some serious data tonight. Yeah.
For me, man, rough.
I know. You're stressed out. Yeah, what's on your mind now?
Well, I want to tell you,
Yeah.
Right now in Jamaica, there is no father who can guarantee
you feel uncomfortable
that him never put on a jacket yet.
You feel uncomfortable with the data. I understand your anxiety.
Dr. Bailey.
Yes, man.
It has been a long time now, that I heard some woman with a argument because topics like these have come up before.
Yes.
Because I got programs from the 80s coming up. And from IRFM starting programs. I'm there.
Yes.
Oftentimes you and I have spoken. But sometimes I kind of get a break from time to time, But I always listening. Now the women of Jamaica, for a long time, has always said, is the woman's baby and the man's maybe.
You're getting very poetic at this time of night. The woman,
you never heard that before?
Yeah, man. And the man, maybe. Okay.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. And what caused that, is that sometimes you have a breakup in relationships. And sometimes the man, you grow up in youth and say, right now, you might carry youth with him. But the woman might say, but wait, when I grow up in youth, so I'm not sure it's your feel.
Okay.
You pick me up?
Yeah, man, I understand.
And what I've observed is that enough man never know that he was wearing a jacket till when him go away, sending for his children, and had to do a DNA test. And that's where all hell broke loose.
What happened in those cases?
My Lord, it's not easy, Because it's a family business right now, Virgin. Up here, mix up and blend,
All right, caller. I tell you what, we're wrapping around out of time. We're going to have to talk to you again another time. You see? But,
no problem, Dr. Bill. But right now, guess what? No.
Yeah.
Enough man right now in awe.
I know.
And right now, enough man I say, but Lord have mercy. I want left my bed soon, boss.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear from you, sir.
Give thanks, my brother.
No problem. All the best. All the best. You listen to IRFM, and I think we're going to take a short break. Hello? Oh, okay. No problem. No problem. Yeah, it's interesting that we have had such sober discussions tonight, Wade. And that man's discussion is in awe. I have a funny feeling.
I don't think he's alone because
a lot of men are wondering, what's going on.
Definitely.
But we have really had a good show. It's amazing how time went by so fast. Yes, indeed. Because the topic tonight was essentially looking at jacket children and cheating.
Yes.
And we were really looking at some raw data, and based on the information that I gathered before the beginning of the program, we actually recognize that cheating or paternity fraud was quite high in Jamaica. From the courts, it's 35%, and from the UA, it's 33%. And based on the other data in the wider society, is roughly 20% high. Definitely. And so it indicates that we have a problem, and we need to recognize this and put systems in place to address it.
But what I think, to me, the good thing in all of this is that, according to Dr. Gale, the men who are finding out that they have a jacket, they're still staying around and
yeah, man. And based on what that last caller said, even if you find out that the child is not biologically yours, you're the social father, and so you ought to take care of the child. Well, Wade, it was really great to have you again with us tonight, and we're really happy to have had the opportunity to share this data with our listeners. We'd like to thank Miss Madeline Whittup for sharing thoughts with us, and we'd like to thank Dr. Herbert Gale, anthropologist and lecturer in the Department of Sociology, for providing us some very sobering data about the jacket racket. We'd also like to thank you, Wade, for sitting here with me tonight, and my producer, Joy Morgan, and of course, the technical operator, Shane Clark. And we were very pleased to have had the opportunity to have such good and sober calls tonight, addressing some of the issues, and we hope that the data we are presenting will provide appropriate food for thought to guide you as you travel along life's pathway to enable us to become better fathers and better mothers. I'm Dr. Al Bailey. Thank you very much for affording me the opportunity to share this microphone with you, and we look forward to being with you again sometime soon. Have yourself a wonderful night.